Greetings viewers, and welcome back to Just Short of Fantastic. Here we are in June, Pride Month, a time to acknowledge the struggles and celebrate the triumphs of the LGBTQ community. Now, historically, the T, that is transgendered, part in that narrative has been largely overlooked and undervalued, but there has been more and more effort to raise positive awareness of these brave individuals. A good friend of mine, Kyle McGivern, has recently joined this growing movement with his self-published novel, Wyvern. I was honored to attend the book launch, where I learned a lot about the novel, the team behind it, and the growing need for positive visibility and voices in the transgendered community. And so without further ado, it gives me a great honor to share those voices with you this month.
And the first thing I want to say is thank you very much for being here to kind of celebrate this with me. What we are doing here is launching this, which is the very first, I'm gonna hold it together, I swear, very first foray of mine into the world of writing. This is my book. This is called Wyvern. I also want to point out that one of the biggest priorities in this work is to draw more attention to not only the realities of transgender kids and people, but the work of transgender artists and creators. And I'm going to be working on that as I proceed through the rest of the distribution publication process of this book. But there's a couple I want to call attention to. First, as I mentioned, Toby, who is our fantastic artist and illustrator for this project. His work is unbelievable. I absolutely love it, and I've loved working with him. If anybody knows of or speaks to or is in contact with other trans creators or works of creators of trans creators of content, does that work? Let me know, because I do want to help promote the work of trans artists and creators as much as possible. I recognize my privilege here. I'm cisgender. For those who don't know, that means not transgender, essentially. And I have created a work that centers around a trans main character, and while I believe that the conversation is important and I believe I'm contributing something positive to it, I don't want to waste the opportunity to say, hey, look at all these fantastic people who identify as trans who've created this amazing stuff. So let any friends you have know, and I would love to promote their work alongside the work that I'm doing. So thank you. I'm going to stop talking for the moment now and pass the floor to Toby. Please give him a huge round of applause for all the work he's done.
So I should talk about stuff with words. I was first told about Wyvern from a mutual friend of ours, and he's like, hey, you know, our friend Kyle from high school is looking for an illustrator who is trans-identifying to illustrate a book series that he's working on. And as soon as Kyle told me what it was about, I knew I had to work on it. Growing up as a kid, I never heard the word transgender. It just wasn't a thing that existed. And I'm sure if I had heard it before, I wouldn't have been so confused for as long as I was. And hearing that this book was aimed towards a younger audience and could help these kids hear this word sooner and understand it sooner, and understand that if you're born and you don't feel quite right, like you identify in that way, then that's all right, and you're not broken. You're perfectly normal, and there are other people out there that feel the same way you do. So to be a part of something that important and something that I wanted so much as a child was absolutely wonderful. And being able to illustrate this character and connect to him on so many levels. There are so many quotes that he says, you know, like this entire thing about, you know, boys don't cry, and that really resonated with me. So to draw him and to experience these things as he's experiencing was, I mean, it was incredible. So, you know, working on this has been wonderful, and it's inspired me to also, I guess, illustrate things that I've wanted to see. Because before I would illustrate mostly comic book characters. Working on Wyverns inspired me to work on things that are original and things that I felt that I wanted to see in the comic world. Things like transgender characters. I wanted to see more of them, so I realized, wait a second, if, you know, Kyle's writing this book about things that he wants to see based off people that have inspired him, why am I not doing the same? The biggest thing that you've inspired me to do is work on a comic book series, actually. And the main three characters are queer identifying, and it does revolve around a lot of queer characters, but it's not that's not the plot of it all. At heart, it's a dark comedy, a dark fantasy, and being able to work on these characters in this sort of setting, like these characters that maybe don't quite identify in the binary, and maybe don't quite fit what a comic book character normally is. And I think that that's important to have that and to see examples of that. So, and also just kind of seeing more representation for those things, positive representation, and representation that isn't constantly pointed out, as Wyvern does. It's just kind of, it's just Quinn is Quinn in Wyvern. He's not trans. That's not a character trait. And that shouldn't be a character trait.
Because again, I want the voices that really talk about the impossible impact of this book to be the people who may identify it with it. And to that end, I'm going to start with Matthew. I will introduce Matthew as the person who inspired the book in the first place. For anyone who doesn't know, Matthew and I were formerly partners, and we're still very, very good friends. But it was my first experience having a transgender partner. And through that close and personal lens, I got to see a lot of what the journey can look like. And for me, never really having had that experience before, I had no idea. I saw stuff as a part of that relationship that wouldn't even have occurred to me. And so it was, by a huge token, it was the experience of spending that time with Matthew and seeing just what that journey was for him that brought out a lot of Quinn. And a lot of Matthew went into Quinn as a part of how the book grew. So I'll stop talking and bring Matthew up here, because I'd like for him to share a bit of what that process has been for him too.
Hi everybody, I am Matthew. I was asked to speak last night, so please forgive me if I'm not as eloquent as other speakers. And with that kind of introduction, oh my goodness, how do I follow that up? When Kyle first brought the idea of Wyvern to me, I was enthralled and I was excited. I know that a lot of people, when they look to content creators and they see their privilege, like Kyle being cisgendered, and sometimes people would discredit that person because, oh, you don't know what it's like to view the world through a trans person and whatnot. This isn't Kyle's voice. Kyle sought so much input from so many other trans people. I can name a few of my friends. There was Parker, there was Chester, there was Adam, there's James, there's Isaac, and he sought so many different resources to make sure that he got the presentation and representation of Quinn correctly. And through my own experiences, being Kyle's partner, being Kyle's friend, being myself, trying to be myself, that very much comes across in Quinn's character, and I think that it's a very, very good representation and a very good narrative of what it's like to be trans if you don't know what it's like. And just seeing the story develop, seeing Quinn develop into himself and become more confident, it's wonderful and it's amazing. And like Toby had said, that's not like the main focus of the book. Like, it's when I see works with trans characters, the thing they hammer home is, this character is trans, read about this. That's not this.
I call it the after-school special effect.
This is a fantasy adventure in this far-off fantasy land. That is the focus of meeting the Wyvern, and that's where the story is, even with the very important points of the trans character. And I've been so excited throughout this entire process since the idea first came to light, and now just seeing this book, and I'm going to cry before you. Seeing this book in print, and the number of trans youth that it will help, I hope it reaches all of them, because this project is so darn important. And just thank you, Kyle. Just thank you. I just thank all of you for being here. And I thank all the people that offered input to this book, and Toby for illustrating, and your editors, and bringing this incredibly important project to life, and it's here now. And I thank everybody. Thank you.
And I hope that it reaches the people it needs to reach. I also want to reiterate just how important this work is in our schools. I'm speaking from the teacher lens here, and I know there are quite a few educators in the crowd. The work has come so far, and not wishing to be a shill, I'm actually really proud of the Peel board right now. We've released and created and just drawn upon so many brand new and really forward-thinking policies, resources, guidelines. Things are way better for queer and trans kids now in Peel than they have been ever before. Straight up, I've got at least 5 kids at my school who identify with some other gender or other definition of gender than they were born with, and and that's a middle school. This is happening at a younger and younger age. And there are kids as young as 5, they're in kindergarten, in the Peel board, whose parents are supportive, and the schools, I need a round of applause when I finish this sentence, are supporting their transitions wholeheartedly. It is beautiful. So a round of applause for Peel. And I'm sure the TDSB is doing similar things, but it's beautiful to see a kid be able to come out as trans in a school system that supports them in it. It's beautiful. And so I'm really hoping this is work that can add to that, but definitely support your local school boards and school communities. Get the word out there, pass that along that, these are things that are happening. Get the word out that we need more content like this for kids. We really do. They need to see themselves in the media that they read and what they see and things they play. All of this needs to come to them. There is a long list of students that I really wish were here so I could thank them in person, but they listened to the story, gave me feedback on the story, and gave me my first glimpse into what their minds and eyes might see out of this project. So they, though they are not in the room, deserve a round of applause as well. And that, if you wish, is all that you need to hear of me talking. But thank you again, and enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you so much for joining me this month. Be kind to each other and stay just short of fantastic.